Welcome to the SA Mining Desk, your essential partner in understanding South Africa's mining sector. We're a platform dedicated to simplifying the intricate world of mining, from government regulations and groundbreaking judgments to essential industry reports. We deliver clear, concise information to equip you for every step of your mining journey. Join your host, he unpacks the mining sector for us.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to SA Mining Desk, your partner in navigating the South African mining sector. Today we're focusing on small-scale mining and the crucial process of how to get a mining permit. In our previous episode, we went into detail about the full mining right application, walking through the 6 phases under the MPRDA. We won't repeat all of that today because the process is similar, but we will highlight the key differences and special things you need to know when applying for the mining permit, which allows you to conduct small-scale mining. Here's a quick look at what we'll cover. First, we'll look at the laws that govern the process. Next, we'll give you a simple overview of what a mining permit actually is. Then we'll detail the step-by-step application process. Finally, we'll cover the rules and responsibilities once you have your permit. Let's dive right in. When you apply for your mining permit, there are 2 main legal documents you need to know about. The Mineral and Petroleum Resources Development Act, MPRDA. This is the core law. It sets the rules for how you apply for and how the permit is issued. Specifically, Section 27 of the MPRDA is what governs mining permit applications. The National Environmental Management Act, NEMA, this act makes sure that all mining activity is carried out in an environmentally responsible way. The 2 legislation operates side by side with one another. This is because when you apply for a mining permit in terms of the MPRDA, you must at the same time apply for an environmental authorization. The EA's purpose is to assess, manage, and reduce any potential environmental and social risks from your mining activities. The DMPR is the authority responsible for processing and finalizing the EA for mining. However, appeals on a DMPR decision about your EA are the authority of the Minister of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries, and Environment, DFFE. Before we get to the steps, here are a few crucial points to understand. You don't have to own the land to apply for a mining permit. Remember, South Africa's mineral resources belong to all South Africans, and the government holds them in custody for us. This means there are 2 separate rights: the surface right for the landowner and the mineral right for the permit holder. Owning the land doesn't mean you own the minerals beneath it. The Department of Mineral and Petroleum Resources, DMPR, is the only authority that can issue mining licenses. You must have both a mining license, the permit, and an environmental authorization, EA, to mine. Mining without these is illegal and will lead to serious consequences. 1 applicant, 1 permit. A single applicant can only be issued 1 mining permit for the same or adjacent piece of land. This rule exists to ensure that permit holders stick to the prescribed 5-hectare area and don't try to use a permit to conduct large-scale mining, which would allow them to avoid the social responsibilities that come with a full mining right. Key difference: unlike a full mining right, a mining permit does not require you to contribute to the socio-economic conditions of surrounding communities. Now, here's a significant difference in how the 2 applications are handled. Mining permit applications are processed in the order they are received. If 2 companies apply for the same mineral on the same land on different dates, the first one received will be fully processed. The second application is simply placed on hold, or in abeyance, until the first is finalized. Mining right applications work differently. If an application is accepted, it effectively blocks all later applications for that area until the first one is either granted or refused. This means that if there is an accepted mining right application for the same mineral and land, the second application will be immediately rejected. Moving on, let's get a clear picture of what a mining permit actually is. A mining permit is a permit issued by the DMPR that allows you to mine a specific mineral on a piece of land that is no bigger than 5 hectares. It is initially valid for 2 years. You can renew it 3 times for 1 year each time, bringing the total lifespan to a maximum of 5 years. Another important point: mining permits were primarily created to help historically disadvantaged South Africans enter the mining sector and to cater for small-scale operations. Because of this, you are not required to comply with empowerment requirements of the MPRDA, which is a prerequisite for mining rights. In practice, however, because there are no legislative restrictions, permits can also be issued to companies or persons not classified as historically disadvantaged persons. We're now going to walk through the application process, which is divided into 5 main phases. Phase 1: Research and Preparation. This phase is all about getting ready, and it shares many similarities with the mining right process. You'll do the same research on the mineral and the land. You still need similar documents like your company documents or IDP, screening report, environment authorization application, and the Regulation 2.2 plan, the mine layout map. Key differences in this phase. The key difference from a full mining right application is that you do not submit a mine work program or a social and labor plan. Instead, you must submit a financial and technical competence document, FTC. This document proves you have enough money and the right expertise to safely conduct the proposed activities for the 2-year period. The DMPR website has a great fill-in template for this document. Fees are much lower. The standard fee is 2,100 Rand, 100 Rand for the permit, and 2,000 Rand for the environmental authorization. Note, this is significantly lower than the 11,000 Rand required for a mining right. However, depending on the scope of activities in your EA, the total fee can sometimes be higher than the standard 2,100 Rand. Once you have your documents and fee ready, we move to Phase 2, lodging the application. This phase is identical to the mining right process. No differences here. You lodge everything online using the SAMRAD system. You fill out the required information, select the area, upload all of your PDFs, and pay the fee. Once lodged, the DMPR begins its initial review in Phase 3, Preliminary Assessment. This stage also shares many similarities with that of a mining right. The DMPR has 14 days to either accept or reject your application. If rejected, you get a letter explaining why. You can still appeal this decision by lodging an appeal in the prescribed format and pay a 500 Rand appeal fee. If accepted, you get an acceptance letter with instructions. The DMPR will then publish a notice asking for public comments on your application, which are considered by the Regional Mining Development and Environmental Committee, or RMDEC. A mining permit application generally takes about 8 months to finalize, assuming there are no objections. Compare this to a mining right, which can take approximately 14 months. Once accepted, the main work begins in Phase 4, Core Evaluation. This is where the main work happens, with different sections simultaneously evaluating 2 things: environmental compliance and financial and technical competency, FTC. 1. Environmental compliance. You must appoint an Environmental Assessment Practitioner, EAP. EAPs are independent experts registered with EAP ASA. They prepare the required environmental reports for you. For a mining permit, the process usually follows a Basic Assessment Report, BAR. This is a shorter, more focused report than the full Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, required for a mining right. The BAR must analyze the environment before mining, the potential impacts, the mitigation strategies, and the rehabilitation plan. It must be submitted 90 days after your acceptance date and must have undergone public consultation for 30 days. The department then has 107 days to make a decision. If the BAR is accepted, you will be required to pay the financial provision, the security deposit for rehabilitation, using one of the approved methods: bank guarantee, trust cash, and others. Once this is paid, the EA will be issued. Remember, the EA being issued doesn't mean you can start mining yet. It just means you've met the environmental criteria. You must then notify all interested and affected parties of the decision. They can appeal to the Minister of DFFE, which would suspend your application until the appeal is resolved. If you fail to submit the BAR on time, your application will automatically lapse. Or, if the department refuses to issue the EA to you, both outcomes negatively affect your permit application because you haven't met the environmental criteria. You can appeal against these decisions to the Minister of DFFE. 2. Financial and Technical Competency, FTC. The main question is simple. Can the mineral be mined efficiently for the proposed 2-year period? The DMPR reviews your submitted FTC document and all supporting financial information to confirm this. With both sections complete, your application moves to the final stage, Phase 5, Final Assessment and Issuing.
This final stage considers 5 key requirements. The mineral can be mined for 2 years. The mining area does not exceed 5 hectares. Environmental authorization is granted. Where there was an objection, the committee must have supported the issuing of the permit. There must be no existing right, permit, or accepted application for the same mineral on the same land. Unlike a mining right, there is no separate granting stage and no need to sign documents before a public notary. Once you're compliant, the permit is simply issued or refused. If issued, you will receive a letter informing you of the decision and inviting you to collect the original permit. The issued permit must be lodged for recording, not registration as done for mining rights, at the Mining and Petroleum Titles Registration Office within 60 days of being issued. Unlike the mining right, which requires you to commence mining within 12 months, the mining permit does not have this requirement. If refused, you receive a refusal letter stating the reasons. If you are not happy, you can lodge an appeal with the Minister of the DMPR. Congratulations! You are now a small-scale miner holding a permit. But this authorization comes with responsibilities, obligations, and restrictions. Once you hold the permit, you have several crucial responsibilities. Mine according to the approved environmental authorization, EA. Submit an annual environmental audit to the DMPR. Submit monthly production reports using the DMPR 128 form. Pay state royalties to the South African Revenue Services, also known as SARS. Give the landowner 21 days written notice before entering the site. You also have certain rights and restrictions. You have the right to access the land and the right to use water for mining, provided the water use is properly authorized. If you are denied access or prevented from exercising the permit, you must notify the regional manager. The permit is non-transferable. You cannot sell it to another person. If you hire a contractor, you remain responsible for complying with all aspects of the permit.
And that brings us to the end of the entire process of applying for a mining permit. To quickly recap the most important points, land ownership is not required to apply. The permit is restricted to a 5-hectare area and can last a total of 5 years. You must apply for the mining permit under MPRDA and the environmental authorization under NEMA simultaneously to begin mining. Acceptance, rejection, refusal, and issuing are all governed by law. If you disagree with a decision, you can appeal to the Director General for the permit or the relevant minister for the EA. Thank you for listening to SA Mining Desk. Join us next time